My name is Jane Wolken. I'm the University Program Manager of the North Central Climate Adaptation Science Center. Welcome to the plenary session of the North Central CASC first ever Climate Solutions Days. This morning kicks off several days of sessions throughout Earth Week that are focused on a variety of climate solutions themes. The a la carte structure of Climate Solutions Days is intended to provide you with choices and flexibility. If you have lost track of any of the sessions that you've registered for, I encourage you to look in your email for an email from nccasc@colorado.edu. And you can also follow our activities throughout the week if you are on Twitter using the hashtag CSD2022. And we'll drop that in the chat here shortly. I want to acknowledge the efforts of the NCCAS team to help organize this event, our keynote speakers for their willingness to share their insight, and funding from the U.S. Geological Survey, Series, and the University of Colorado Boulder. In this kickoff session, we're recording the session, and it and most of the others will be available on our website afterwards. We'll hold space for questions and answers following the completion of all of our presentations by our university and USGS director and also our keynote speakers. I encourage you to use the chat to enter your questions, and we will do our best to answer those as time allows. And now I will turn it over to Dawn to play a short video describing who we are and some of the work that we do. Thank you.
Weather and climate extremes are affecting not only our homes and businesses here in the US, but recent years have revealed threats to the ecosystems on which our economy rests. Wildfires are affecting iconic forests in the west and east, and even racing across grasslands important to agriculture and into suburban communities. Extreme heat is baking the seaside habitats so important to the social and ecological well-being in the Pacific Northwest. And drought is reducing the snowpacks on which water supplies, game habitats, and recreation depend on in the West. The North Central Climate Adaptation Science Center is one of 9 regional centers in a national network created to help natural and cultural resource managers prepare for changes due to a warming climate. We at the NCCASC serve the states of Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, and Nebraska, delivering actionable adaptation science where it is needed most, whether it's to managers in the Department of Interior, state and local agencies, indigenous communities, or nonprofit organizations. The CASCs are unique in that they make use of partnerships that fuse the trusted scientific and data management capabilities of the U.S. Geological Survey, regional universities, and tribes.
So we're here in the north central region of the United States, and we partner with land managers in the agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, as they assess the impact of climate variation and change on species, on ecosystems like grasslands and forests, and address evolving issues like wildfire, the threat from wildfire, the frequency of drought, and the impact of those on resource production.
We develop open data tools and information to help managers understand climate impacts, vulnerable systems, and how and where ecosystem resilience can be enhanced using traditional knowledge, climate-smart management, and climate-informed conservation. Given the tools to help ecosystems adapt, resource managers can preserve our wilderness areas and wildlife refuges, protect our water supplies and native habitats, and support sustainable hunting, fishing, and outdoor experiences. They can also save money, reduce litigation, and enhance economic development through regional approaches to hazard reduction. In the north central region of the country, our actionable science is collaboratively produced with partners and stakeholders, focusing specifically on freshwater, grasslands, sagebrush steppe, forests, and high elevation ecosystems. Some of our projects include developing products, workshops, and webinars to increase climate science applications, providing a strategic science pathway, and providing tools for managers through our climate science support platform. As the climate changes, management challenges such as water availability, habitat loss and transformation, disease, invasive species, and wildfire will require our best science, planning, and decision-making to protect natural and cultural resources.
Okay, that was a nice lead in to our first speaker, Dr. Nicole DeCrappeo. She is the USGS Director of both the North Central and Northwest Climate Adaptation Science Centers. In addition to Nicole's leadership role within the CASC network, she is a soil ecologist by training with research experience in invasive plants, soil biological communities, and nutrient cycling in the arid lands of the Western United States. And Nicole, I'll turn it over to you to share your screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I feel like I need to pump up. It's like Tuesday morning, it's early. This is the start of Climate Solutions Days. It's Earth Week, everything. We should be excited to be here today. I'm excited to be here today. So this gives you a sense of how exciting my life is, but I'm really excited to be with y'all. Thank you so much. This is a really unique, I think, event, certainly a first of its kind for the North Central CASC. And I hope a kind of a test, an experiment for us in the region. And I hope that it's worth your time and that you get a lot out of this week. It's a really unique offering. So let me share my screen and just give you a little bit more background about the North Central CASC. Liana did such a nice job with that video and gave kind of a really good introduction to who we are and what we do, where we work. But I thought I'd just give a little bit more detail about who it is the North Central Climate Adaptation Science Center is, who the heck we are, and why we're putting on something called Climate Solutions Days. I know a lot of you who are here today are familiar with us, but we certainly have a lot of new faces as well. And I just want to point out we have people from all across the country with us who have signed up for the sessions this week, as well as people across the world. So we're really excited that you've all chosen to be with us. So just a little bit of background on what I'm going to call the CASCs. That's our acronym, the Climate Adaptation Science Centers, and our entire network. You saw that map in the video really quickly, but our overall mission is to deliver science to help fish, wildlife, water, land, and people adapt to a changing climate. We operate across the United States in the different regions you see here. And we, all of the institutions that you see are part of our network as well. And I'll explain how that works in just a little bit. But you can see we're well represented across the United States, and we have a national office back in Washington, D.C., the National Climate Adaptation Science Center as well. We are a federal university partnership, which means that we are, in many cases, co-located at a host university. And then we have a series of consortium partners, institution partners that kind of round out our partnership in the region. So each CASC has a consortium comprised of universities and other institutional partners and tribal entities. The universities often, one of their main roles is to provide early career training and capacity building opportunities. That's of course what universities specialize in. And so we really try to harness that expertise as well as the diverse expertise of both the federal and university scientific expertise in each region. Zooming in on the North Central CASC a little bit more. Again, you can see our geographic footprint here, and then all of the different partners that we work with in the region in terms of the formal consortium of the North Central CASC. So a number of different partners across the region. And you can see on the left our priority habitats and the management issues that we're really most concerned with. So our priority habitats, freshwater ecosystems, high elevation ecosystems, grasslands, and of course sagebrush steppe. And then the management issues that we're really focused on for the time being, and will be, I'm sure, for quite a while longer here, is water availability, habitat loss and change, invasive species and disease, and of course wildfire being such a huge issue in this region. So I just want to tell you a little bit about our North Central CASC vision and how we go about achieving the work, the mission that we've set out for ourselves. So our vision as a center is that natural and cultural resource managers use actionable and open data, tools, and innovative science to make climate-informed decisions that support resilient ecosystems. And we have a number of desired outcomes that stem from this vision. And one of those, it's really important. And I'm telling you all of this because, again, this is sort of why we're doing Climate Solutions Days, right? Like this is all about achieving the desired outcomes that I'm going to show you here. And one of those is shared literacy. So we want to make sure that scientists and managers are building shared literacy for culturally appropriate climate adapted resource management. Secondly, we're really committed to co-identifying the needs and the solutions to the climate challenges that we're facing on the ground. So scientists and managers partner to identify context relevant knowledge and those capacity needs. Third, knowledge production and capacity building is really key to what we're doing here. So we want to build a strong network of partners that produce open, actionable knowledge and build shared capacity. And finally, the translation and application piece is crucial to the work that we do. So climate adapted management of landscapes is understood, applied, supported, and institutionalized. That's our one of our final outcomes. The way we go about this, so we do fund research, right? We fund research projects. And one of the ways we figure out what projects to fund is we go through a pretty extensive science planning process with our partners, our stakeholders in the region. They help us identify those highest priority climate-related management challenges, those things that they're actually facing on the ground. And then we derive our science directions from those management challenges. So we engage our partners in developing roughly 5-year science agendas. We then develop annual science plans and project solicitations to address those priority issues. And then we can fund projects that address those needs, the research projects. I would say the climate adaptation science centers are still a relatively new kid on the block, I suppose. We were established back in 2009 by a secretarial order in the Department of the Interior. And what we focused on in kind of our earlier days was more along the lines of climate modeling and climate downscaling and uncertainty analysis. We moved down into hydrologic modeling, the impacts of physical impacts of climate change, and of course, biological impacts. But we've now moved firmly into that climate adaptation space. And of course, that's reflected in our name. But so vulnerability assessments and really the kind of burgeoning science of climate adaptation and really defining what it is that means and how we go about achieving climate adaptation. So it's not just that we are funding research projects, right? Another thing that we're doing, and this is again what we're doing here this week with Climate Solutions Days, is we're convening people, we're getting people, developing communities of practice. We have conversations and we listen and bring people together. And one more example of this I'm showing here on this slide is the regional invasive species and climate change networks that we have now popping up around the country, really. And these were started in the Northeast region. Our Northeast CASC partners started this risk network. So really looking at this, focusing on this nexus of invasive species and climate change and how it is we, maybe alter our management strategies based on climate change. And so the North Central region now has a risk network that I encourage you to check out if invasive species are something that you are interested in. You can find that on our website. But again, a community of practice, thinking about how we can come together collectively and solve some of these problems in a climate or a science-informed way. Another thing that we really want to make sure that we're thinking a lot about and pushing boundaries on is just thinking about the social human dimensions of climate change and what it means to sort of direct change, for example. So this is a graphic from a new framework that I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. It's the RAD framework, the Resist, Accept, Direct framework that many folks in the National Park Service and USGS and many others have been integral to putting together. So this idea that we have been resisting in a lot of ways, which is to say, wanting to keep what we see currently on the landscape, keep it there, right? We'll do anything that we can to maintain that community composition and those ecosystem functionings on that landscape. In some cases, we already might be accepting those changes too, and maybe not being able to do much about them, but saying, okay, we understand this ecosystem is changing and we're allowing that to happen, so to speak. But where we're really interested or thinking hard about is this direct framework, or this direct part of the framework, which is to say, we're gonna accept and understand that climate is changing conditions, and maybe we need to direct things in a different way at this stage. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do we make sure that we're not creating different problems when we direct ecosystem change? But this is the kind of thing that we like to think about at the North Central CASC that I think is really crucial to our conversations about how it is we as a society and kind of culturally accept the ecological transformations that we see around us and how we want to address those. That is what I have for you this morning. I'm really excited. I hope that you enjoy Climate Solutions Days. Like I said, this is a first of its kind of event and an experiment. So please do let us know how it has worked for you. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jane for the next part of our presentation.
Thank you, Nicole.